Welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. So what are you doing out there today? It's Tuesday, August 4th.
Hey, Dean sounds different today.
Yeah, Dean does sound different. I'm Justin from the Lakes.
Oh, that's why.
Sitting in for Bridgette. Bridgette's, she's in Sioux Falls at a conference of some sort, doing some speaking. But I'll be with you today. We got a good show for you. We're going to be talking with Dr. Jessica Monroe here shortly. She is Doctor of Optometry for Essentia Health. That's part of our Essentia Health Fit Farmer Focus series. So you're going to stick around for that. We got some good stuff. But let's talk about the weather. My goodness, Dean. It's good outside.
Isn't it? After a just scorching hot July, not record-breaking, but we were in the top three for the most 90-degree days during the month of July. So it really did go down in the record books. And I'll tell you what, it's nice to see a break of Canadian air come in here. And what we've done is we've shifted the big heat dome that has been basically parked over the central part of the U.S., and we've shifted that westward. Well, everything rotates clockwise around that big heat dome. So instead of getting a flow coming in from the west or southwest, now we're getting a flow coming in from the northwest, and that pulls in Canadian air. And I'll tell you what, you can tell the difference outside.
Oh my gosh.
It's beautiful.
Super comfortable.
Yeah, we've got a few fair weather cumulus clouds out there with temperatures right around the 70-degree mark. It's a gorgeous one out there. We'll make it up to about 75 today. That's it, with breezy conditions out of the northwest. And then we'll clear it out tonight. It's going to be a cool one, but again, a good night to leave the windows open and give that air conditioner a rest. 50 for your low with light south winds. Winds pick up a little bit tomorrow. Breezy west winds, low 80s. And then the heat returns for Thursday, upper 80s. Some spots could touch 90, but upper 80s for sure, with southwest winds about 10 to 25. And then we'll stay in the mid-80s through the weekend, about 86 right around there, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with dry conditions until Sunday night, where there's about a 20 to 30% chance, and not a real great chance of some showers and thunderstorms as we head into Sunday night. And then another Canadian air mass comes in all next week, it looks like, with temperatures in the upper 70s to low 80s all next week. Now, according to the LRC and even our long-range models, that heat dome does rebuild and comes back into the area right around the 14th or 15th, so mid-month. So we've got the first couple weeks of August here, for the most part, pleasant weather. So will unfortunately dry too.
Well, even though it's 90s later in the week, will the oppressive dew points be back or not so much?
Just for one day, it looks like on Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's it. So great weather for WeFest. If you're going out to the lake, pool weather this weekend looking good, but just it's bad for our ag community, and just we need to fill up the reservoirs, the lakes. I mean, everything is running so low, and I just don't see over the next 2 weeks much rainfall. We're very, very dry over the next 2 weeks. After that, we'll see if we see a few. Typically, when you get that heat ridge to build back in, it's tough to squeeze out any rain with that as well. And we're going to have Gary Lezak, founder of the LRC. We will have him on tomorrow at 1:30. And we'll be talking about what the rest of the summer and what the fall looks like as well in regards to our ag community. Are we going to play catch up with the rain? Are we going to remain drier than normal? At this point, for some of the crops, it's too late. For the corn, I mean, if it's not doing well, it's too late.
It's funny. That's what I was talking to Bridgette about. I saw several fields, and just a little like the outskirt of the field right towards the road, where the corn is already drying down. Mm-hmm. And she said it's probably mainly because it's sandy soil and so forth, or it could be, I was thinking it was an irrigation blind spot, right? Where it's just not hitting. But I could tell you, the real world forecast or real world report out by me as it pertains to rain, because here's what it was. So I'm in Otter Tail County, and it was, 3 weeks ago, before all that heat hit, we were at peak lake level, like after the ice goes off, peak lake level. Right. So that was the beginning of July, basically. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, nothing, for about 3 weeks, as you know. And then finally last week, it was I think it was Thursday night, it just dumped Thursday night. But I know that's hit or miss, because I was talking to a friend, and that's not very far away. And he's like, yeah, it didn't do anything.
Get anything.
Yeah. And then and then we got a little rain, as everybody knows, on Saturday. It was kind of like a little nothing, probably too sizable. And then last night it dumped again, right around like the 9 o'clock hour to probably 11.
Well, and look at like last week. We had at the end of last week we had big thunderstorms. Castleton out towards Valley City and down towards Leonard, where they picked up 1 to 2 inches, and we didn't even get a drop here. I mean, and that's 20 miles down the road, if that. So that's a nature of summer thunderstorms. You know, they're hit or miss. It's not like your spring rains or your fall rains where it's a little more widespread. When you get these thunderstorms in the summertime, they are hit or miss more than. I mean, and last night, another good example. We got under a tenth of an inch, 500s here at the studio, and out in Lakes Country. I know it's a little bit more distance, but Becker and Otter Tail County picked up half inch to an inch. And then there was another line from Grand Forks County all the way up through the Boundary Waters where they picked up 1 to 3 inches. Now, that's great news for Boundary Waters area with the fires still going on there. To get 1 to 3 inches of rain, that helps the firefighters up there tremendously. So that's good news for those areas.
And right now, I know, let's just talk about what's existing, because you can't obviously predict what future fires there are. But with the fires that are out there right now, do you expect any smoke to come back in the area at all?
Yes. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. When we get that northwest flow, we're going to get some of the stuff from southwestern Canada, maybe a little bit from the Pacific Northwest. Not as bad, but once that heat dome builds back in, that's when we'll probably see a little more of that smoke come in as well.
I haven't even been following it, but are the Minnesota ones out? The ones that were up by?
No, but they are getting contained, yeah.
Okay.
So, and the last thing we need, and that's the one thing I was worried about with these thunderstorms yesterday was, please, no lightning to reignite some of these fires, because you have to worry about that as well. But it was great to see, again, the heavier rainfall up around the Boundary Waters area. It also extended into the Arrowhead of Minnesota, where they've got very dry conditions and fires there too. They got some much needed rainfall. So that's good news there. But yeah, we're scraping by here. And to be honest with you, like I said, over the next 2 weeks, I don't see much in the way of rainfall at all.
Well, with the wet, that's what I was getting at. With the wet season that started out for pretty much everybody, I think, like I said, we were at peak lake levels. I look at my dock and kind of do the gauging, and it's down about 3 or 4 inches right now. But, I mean, had it been not the wet weather until July, I mean, we'd be down a foot.
Oh, and there's some lakes that are down where, like, there's trees being exposed. And, you got to be careful if you're out there boating. And, you know, you've got objects that you've got to go around where normally you wouldn't have to. Otter Tail River, no tubing. So
yeah, I was at Otter Tail yesterday, and I noticed people are moving their lifts out, just away from their dock, and it was pretty shallow. Real quick, I know you had mentioned with the LRC, towards the end of the month and the heat dome building back in about mid-month, I should say. What kind of, a little preview before the show tomorrow, what does it look like from the rest of the growing season, would you say? A lot of heat, a lot of moisture, none,
I'm going to tease you, and we're going to hold that off until tomorrow, because that's one of the topics that we were going to be covering specifically tomorrow. What does it look like as we head into all the way through the end of September? What does it look like for rainfall in the Dakotas and Minnesota? So that's what Gary and I are going to be talking about tomorrow. Is it going to improve? Is it going to remain the same? And then we'll see if we can nudge Gary into do you have any ideas about what the upcoming winter may hold? Now, we have to wait for the new LRC cycle to start in October to be able to fully tell what the upcoming winter is going to be like. We can tell what part of it will be like due to the strong El Nino that is currently ongoing, because typically, and not all the time, every year is different. And this is where the LRC comes into a big piece of the atmospheric puzzle is majority of these strong El Nino seasons, we have a warmer than normal winter and drier than normal. Let's hope that's not the case this winter.
Well, you were telling me before the show that we could see feet of snow in the beginning of October. No, I'm just teasing.
I'm like, wait a minute,
teasing.
I did?
Everybody's so happy. Everybody's screaming now, no.
I'm like, whoa, don't throw me under the bus yet. Let's wait till the end of the show.
Just seeing if you're paying attention.
Holy cow.
Well, listen, folks, we're going to be right back here with Dr. Jessica Monroe. She is a doctor of optometry, and that'll be for the second segment and the third. And then we'll maybe get in some headlines and some wrap-up weather for the last segment of the show. But right now, let's get our update from the American Ag Network. Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Justin from the Lakes Country filling in for Bridgette today. She'll be back tomorrow. And we also have Dean here as well. And you heard a little preview for tomorrow too. So we're going to have a LRC, a little bit more of a forecast on that for the coming months and a preview maybe for what's going on in the winter. We're also brought to you by, remember, you can always get in touch with the show and questions at 701-293-9000, which is the JLA crop insurance line. Don't try to sort it out alone with JLA Crop Insurance and Nate Thorsrud. He's a farmer himself, as you guys know, so he understands what these updates mean on your acres. You can contact him, by the way, at 701-371-0311 or Nate at jlainsurance.com. So as promised before the break, we have a guest in studio. Her name's Dr. Jessica Monroe. She's a doctor of optometry for Essentia Health, and this is part of our Essentia Health Fit Farmer Focus series. So welcome, Jessica. Thanks for joining us. Absolutely. So give us a little introduction on yourself and kind of what your role is at Essentia and what you do for the folks.
I'm born and raised in North Dakota, much more on the northern border, but I took the opportunity to work at Essentia because it's a very high-level eye care facility. So we have, right now we have about 3 rotating ophthalmologists, that would be surgery, and 3 optometrists. So lots of eye care, lots of, 0 to as old as you get eye care.
And, one of the reasons we wanted to have you here is kind of talk about, from a farming perspective, right, what should be top of mind for people. Obviously, safety is, kind of key there, and I've heard all kinds of stories. And, what do you, I'm sure you see a lot of farmers, or at least people that come in, you maybe have known farmers. What do you recommend? Regular eye exams, of course, but, just for general farm safety, just try to wear protective glasses anytime you can, or?
All the time. I would say actually one of the more common, and the summer definitely is a lot higher in these kind of injuries, but one of the most common is, hobby related, grinding metal, stuff like that, where you go to work and you do all your protection, all your gear, and then the one little quick thing you got to do after work and you don't wear it. So we see that a lot in the farming population, construction population. But overall, it's definitely a day-to-day occurrence in the summer.
Do you see a lot of injuries from our ag community in regards to maybe they're not wearing eye protection, or do you see a lot of those injuries?
Like I said, more metal grinding, stuff like that. I have not seen like an acute anhydrous burn, but we are heavily trained in knowing that those can be very, very serious. I usually kind of, warn people an acid is going to hurt. But it's going to be short-lived, and there's treatment for that. A basic, which would be kind of your anhydrous and other chemicals like that, would not be good. Number one thing all the time, regardless of what it is flush them out, and then flush them again, and then flush them again. Okay. And when you think you flushed it enough, you haven't.
Do it again.
Do it again. And then you can definitely see ER if it's, after hours, Saturday, Sunday. But otherwise, we like to see it on the spot, check your pH, and get you where you need to be. But a basic injury is very hard to treat in time. Yeah.
Now, go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. And do you see, with farmers working out in the sun, obviously eye protection, sunglasses, whatnot, very important. How do you stress how important it is for anybody, especially in our ag community, since you're working outside all the time? How important is it for them to have routine eye exams?
Pretty important. I would say every year. I'm going to guess there's quite a few listeners and peers of listeners that are probably on a 6-month basis. Maybe they have macular degeneration, cataracts that we're watching. I think a big thing to remember is you can't see in the back of your eyes. So I also like to ask, are you someone that has a bunch of moles and freckles and dermatology who just won't leave you alone? Are they constantly taking stuff off? Because that's another indicator that you and the UV light don't get along very well.
Really?
So we'd want to make sure that you've had a retinal check and everything. Okay. Because those are things that are a little bit more serious. Cataracts are from UV as well, but significantly less serious.
Back to the injury, just kind of a preview, because I'm not sure people know what the process is, and I just had heard this from somebody a while back, but they were grinding, some sort of metal got into their eye, right? And they were told I was told that they were basically, when they went to the doctor, they were laying down, they have to be completely still, and they use like a magnet to get it out. Like, how does that work typically?
I'd love to see the magnet work. It's a good cheap, non-invasive way of just trying something. When you come to me, I would say one of the docs like to use a like very simple. It's called a spud. Looks like a miniature chipping wedge. I personally like to use an algebra brush, which is a little kind of like Dremel drill. We numb you up. It just basically comes right out. I think the worst part is you gotta wait for the rust to come out, which might take about a week.
Now, I know our one of our staff members had said he was doing something a while back, put a branch to the side of a pine tree, and it somehow came back at him, and he got a pine needle stuck in his eye.
Oh.
And he was saying it actually scratched his retina.
Ouch.
Is that something you've seen before too?
Mowing injuries with branches for sure. Haven't quite had the pine needle injury, but a mowing or hunting, a lot of times you're just not concentrated on what's around you.
And so what's the best thing, with either of these, or, people kind of get the general idea. What's the best thing somebody can do when it happens, or I should say between when it happens and when they get to the doctor's office or ER? Or should they just go to try to get into an optometry or an ophthalmologist, sorry?
Yeah, you should. I mean, as long as we're open, we're available for all walk-ins, as most practices are. We like to get our eyes on it first, literally. We don't know if you need an antibiotic. We don't know if you need a steroid. We don't know if you need both, and usually it's a mixture of both at some point. At the end of the day, you can scar very quickly, so you need to get medicated fast. The eye it's resilient, but easily succumbs to bacterial infection. So the more you let it fester, the worse it's going to be.
And I know that one thing, I had done in my notes here is obviously don't rub it, when this happens. But anything else they should do, or you just, get in as soon as possible. Don't touch it. Don't try to flush it out yourself or anything like that. Right?
I usually say always err on flushing it.
Okay.
It's not going to hurt you. But if you feel it the next day, or you definitely can't sleep through it, absolutely come see us. I think a big point here is take out the contact. If you wear those are going to fester injuries as well.
And what is the main reason that people, and me included, because I was supposed to have an eye exam 2 weeks ago, and I canceled it. I canceled the next one. So I know what my excuse is, which isn't an excuse, but what do you find that is the biggest reason people defer their eye exams? And how important is it not to defer those?
I think probably the obvious is if you're not in pain and you don't see vision changes, what's another year kind of thing. I usually say, well, I don't think you can look in the back of your own eyes. So most people would potentially end up surprised with what they don't know. So just like, the dentist once or twice a year, if you just stick to yearly, there's not going to be much that comes out of nowhere.
And I know the older you get, you have to worry about certain diseases of the eye. Is that the same if you're younger? So if you're a younger farmer, it's like, oh, no, I'm healthy. I can, I see everything fine. Does it matter if you're younger or older? I know you said, well, if you have, freckles and all that when you're younger, or, that you're kind of predisposition for that. Does it matter if you're younger or older? I mean, in terms of, I can put this off.
I would say young and healthy is true across the board. You're probably okay with that every 2 years, maybe 4 years. What we don't want is something that we can't go back and change. But I would say if you're 50 and older, just bank on you should have annual eye exams. There's definitely times where we, the doctors, are like, you know what, you're okay for 2 years. We'll let you slide. There's not much going on there.
Okay.
And then your family history would be a big reason. Glaucoma, macular degeneration. You should just come in annually.
Okay.
Yep.
When we get back, we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to talk about ocular migraines. That's actually something I have a little familiarity with and I've heard about. So stick around, folks. We're going to come right back here with Dr. Jessica Monroe, and she's with Essentia Health, a doctor of optometry. Go nowhere. Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for sticking around with us in your Tuesday afternoon. We are brought to you, by the way, by, excuse me, we are brought to you by Acres TV, Facebook, YouTube, and Lighthouse Commodities. They cover that off, so we're where you could catch us on any of those. I've watched it, I know, on YouTube recently, so keep that in mind. We're also talking today with Dr. Jessica Monroe. She's from Essentia Health. She is a doctor of optometry, and it's part of our Essentia Health Fit Farmer Focus series. Before we went to break, I was asking you, said we wanted to talk about ocular migraines. So this happened to me, this is for some years ago now, where about once or twice a year, I would start, and by the way, I have no prescriptions or anything at this point, and get semi-regular eye exams. But so I would get these, I would see these spots, and it wasn't one eye. It seemed like it was both of them because my doctor had told me, see if you can narrow it down, put out your hand over your eye or whatever. And I was like, what are these spots? And it would just be for about 15 minutes. And then what I would mean by these spots for the folks in the audience is, if I was to look at my phone or look at a piece of paper, I couldn't see like what the letter was unless I moved my eyes kind of left or right to kind of see it. And it would just be for a little bit. It freaks you out a little bit the first time because you think like, what's happening? And then it goes away after about 15 minutes. And somebody told me it's an ocular migraine. You want to talk about that and explain that? As I explain that correctly?
For sure. That's actually pretty common for us. Sometimes you'll just walk in and kind of describe these things, and I'll go, okay, does it go away? Is it capable of going away? Does everything return as it should? And usually no pain as well. We want to make sure that if you're having pain, we'd maybe want some neck tenderness or maybe an actual migraine headache after that or before, but we don't want pain associated with that kind of weird vision. And I usually say the stranger it is, as long as it goes away, it is more likely a migraine. And for some, it's more of an anatomy reason. They have just a really tiny optic nerve, and all that stuff is literally stuffed together in there. So if you get a migraine, your blood vessels dilate and you kind of choke them off. My biggest analogy is typically your retina is a TV that never shuts off. Okay, so you can close your eyes, but it can't shut off. So if at any point the signal is weird, that's okay. We definitely want to delineate that between the lights going out. So I usually say I am more concerned if you have blackout vision for 20 seconds and everything returns perfectly than I am if you can say it's more weird and interesting and strange. And it should freak you out a little bit because you don't know why it's happening, but we get a little bit more nervous if it's almost too perfect, if that makes sense.
And if people are listening and thinking, well, I don't get migraines. I don't get migraines either, folks. That's just what they call it. Mm-hmm. And I do have neck tension. So, I mean, that's kind of what I think it may be attributed to.
The blood vessels for the eyes are in the back of the brain, and there's not much pain there. I think migraines often are associated with headaches. And although that is the most common location for a migraine, that's not technically what it is. So some can just have ocular weird manifestations in their vision and no headache at all. And
for me, there's no rhyme or reason. It may not happen for a year. It may happen 3 times in a month. Sometimes it's just weird.
And we'll often get that, coming in on its own. Otherwise, it's a neurology referral, and they just need to make sure there's not a pressure issue. There's not a, like I said, an optic nerve issue. More like, does this qualify for an MRI? Most have had an MRI before seeing us, so that's some of the work done for me, but yeah.
And Jessica, I mean, when I saw we were having you in as a guest from Essentia, the first thing I thought of was, I didn't know Essentia had a optometry or ophthalmology department. Is that I mean, do you get that a lot?
Oh, frequently.
Okay.
And I love to address it because we have a very, very, 8 to 5 normal eye clinic. I think being associated with Essentia, people think, well, it has to get pretty bad before I go there.
Right.
Nope. I mean, we see all of our employees and all of their healthy spouses and families. A lot of people are just, I just need my new glasses and contacts. So we see all of it, which definitely helps break up some of the action, but definitely highly medical as well. But we definitely see just normal eye care.
Okay. And another thing, we grew up, the old myth, well, if you want good vision, eat a lot of carrots. Is there any
beta-carotene, baby?
Yeah, right. Is there anything we can do to improve our eyesight or to keep our eyesight maintained in terms of health, whether it be food we eat, foods to avoid, alcohol, Justin here, he's a nightly weed smoker. Is that gonna?
That's not true, folks.
I'm joking.
That is not true.
I know. Does any bad habits harm your vision?
Habits, yeah. I mean, smoking is going to be a pretty bad habit. Cigarette smoking to pick up on. I don't recommend that systemically, regardless.
Right.
But smoking can it just ages the eye very, very quickly. Things we deal with the most are healthy vision, but really poor blood pressure, really poor blood sugar. So diabetics are probably over 50% of what I see on a daily basis. So those kind of things are slightly in your control, slightly genetics. But Mediterranean diet is usually what I tell everybody. You can chase vitamins all day long, but dark leafy greens, dark oranges, and fats. I think people are scared of fats, but if it's nuts, avocado, fish, salmon being very high in fat, the eye loves that.
I love salmon.
Yeah, it's a good thing to like.
Man.
Now, you were talking about it escaped me here for a second. Sorry, eye damage. Can you, one of the questions can the eye repair itself, or without intervention, by doing things like we were just talking about, or some sort of rest, or do you find that it can heal itself in certain ways, or not so much without?
I'm going to go with not so much, and not to be, a downer there. But when it comes to most of your eyes, genetics are going to trump most things that you do. So what you eat is always going to help. I think what we don't like to touch on is probably the digital age, and how much all day long I'm like, don't read, don't write, don't use your phone. That'll help. And obviously as a society, we can't do that. So I think there's some things that I don't know the answer to yet when it comes to blue light and all of that, that I don't know if I know the answer. I don't know if I want to know the answer, and I don't know if we will know the answer in quite a few years. But yes, eat the right things. But cardiovascular disease, you don't really think about blood pressure, cardiovascular issues, or diabetes affecting your vision. But I'd argue it probably ages your eye and changes your eye health the most.
You mentioned blood pressure, is that, and you referred to low. What about high blood pressure in people?
I was just going to ask that. You're
sorry.
reading my mind.
Oh, did I say low? I didn't mean low.
Yeah.
If I did. Okay, no,
well,
high blood pressure.
Low and low blood sugars.
Low blood sugar, all right, and high blood sugar. But yes, all of the above. It would heavily affect your vision, or if you're, you just don't want too many bad things at once. But I would say there's a lot of times that, I'll tell patients you need to go see your primary care because you do not know you have high blood pressure. And I can definitely tell. And with diabetes, they're typically yearly checkups, annual. I would say many fall into 4 to 6 months because it's not looking too good for them. But the biggest thing I say about your eyes regarding diabetes is I'm not necessarily looking for diabetes. Yes, I mean, I am physically, but it's the only organ you can open up and look at your blood vessels in real time. The rest would require surgery. So think about that when you have an eye exam. It's the only place where I can see how your body is processing everything without, more than those dreadful dilation drops, but not surgery. So it's a good indicator of your systemic health all around for sure.
Can you tell by looking on a yearly or monthly eye exam, bi-yearly, can you tell if there's any other problems with your health by looking at the eyes?
Yep, absolutely.
You can, because you had mentioned like what? For a couple
I
of
would
examples.
say autoimmune conditions come to mind quite a bit. We're like, maybe you're 45 and a female and things just are looking a little bit maybe inflamed or something. Then blood work usually shows that too. It's pretty half and half. Some have this whole, rap sheet of this is what's wrong, and I see it. Other times I see it and I go, you should maybe go have a primary care check because I don't think much of your blood work is as accurate as it was 20 years ago kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, you can definitely, even down to, more recently I had a patient that I was like, you better, go get a colonoscopy or something. So you can see some weird things, but
Really?
we usually say, it can't be rare if it's in your chair. So I don't need to go back to the textbook that often for some of those weird ones, but they do also kind of stick out at you. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
As far as, someone that's listening right now and says they're hesitating to get their eyes checked, and we kind of maybe asked a little bit of this question before, and maybe needing glasses going forward, what would you say to them? Go in and get the exam, or, because they're just hesitant to do anything?
Sorry, say that a question.
Yeah, sorry, just to somebody listening and they're
Yeah.
just hesitating and getting their eyes
Oh, yeah,
checked, or maybe they need glasses moving forward. What would you recommend they do?
Or just a regular eye exam, and don't say no to the dilation drops. We get that a lot, but I mean, there's only one way to look in the back of the eye.
Why would they say no?
I mean, it's a day ruiner, right? It's like
Well, 'cause you can't-
4 to 6 hours
Yeah.
of,
You can't drive.
right, right. So we and you, obviously, we're the only place you come in worse, or you come in better and you leave worse than you came in. So people don't love that, but definitely necessary. Not more than once a year unless you have a certain condition. But I'd usually say, what's the worst that can happen? You're told you're normal and everything's healthy.
Right.
That's the worst that could happen, right?
That's true.
Any
Yeah.
other questions for you? I got one more.
Let her rip.
So I was going to ask about so my vision, just full disclosure, 2010, but I have this weird thing with light. And I don't know if it has anything to do with, those ocular migraines or not. But so if I'm looking at a white screen, like this one's fine for me. But if I'm looking at something on the TV screen, let's say it's dark background but white lettering, man, it's like just bright as all heck, and it's almost blurry to me. And so I thought maybe something in my vision was changing, but I went and got checked out. And I noticed too, I flip screens and do different things, and all of a sudden I can see it just crisp and clear. So it has to do with the light. And I guess my just larger question is, it's obviously an LED TV, but there's LED lights and everything else. Do you find that that's affecting people's vision in different ways?
I would say so too. It's like I said, it's not really studied, and there's not great text on the literal modern world that we're living in real time. But like I say, at the end of the day, I usually tell people, well, go change something about it, change the distance, change the lighting. But that's a lot easier said than done, for sure. But you also, how old are you?
How old am I?
And do you wear reading glasses?
No, I actually don't wear reading glasses either.
Okay.
I don't wear anything.
So a lot of times it's kind of the focusing mechanism between keeping that stamina of that muscle up close, and then you go look far away and you're waiting for that pupil to dilate, and it's kind of, like driving a manual car instead of an automatic car. That is age dependent. So if you don't wear reading glasses over 45, you probably should. I'll just leave that there. But
Justin, you didn't answer the good doctor's question.
Was there a question there?
What was my question?
How old?
Oh, you don't
is
need
he?
to
She
answer
was
that.
just
That's
saying
fine.
How old is he?
We'll go around the room. How old are we in here?
You
No, you
never
don't need to
ask a
answer
woman
that.
how old she is. That's rude.
You don't need to answer that, but I'll just leave it there. 45 and older, just bite the bullet and try the reading glasses.
Right.
Sure. Did you have anything else? Anyone want to?
No.
Okay.
That's interesting you say about reading glasses, because I need my glasses for distance, and I don't need any. I could take them off and read just fine, but I need them for distance. Will that change as I get older?
No, actually, some people really like the ability that their naked eye is finally set for near vision, and it works for near vision. I usually tell people there's absolutely no harm in letting your eye do what it's supposed to do. The muscle still might appreciate the bifocal situation, but and then even way down the road when cataract surgery is available, you might even choose to keep it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Lots of options.
Great.
Well, thanks for joining us
Yeah,
today.
for
Appreciate
sure.
it. Now, are you taking new patients too? Just out of
All the
curiosity?
time. Yep. Every day.
Okay.
All the time.
And if somebody wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way?
I would call just the regular 701-364-8900 number, and then just ask for the eye department.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And one other thing to mention too, when we were talking about the locations too, is that it's all in one over there. I think, as you were saying during the
Yes.
break, right? So you're not having to be referred off for surgery in other places necessarily.
Correct. Yeah, it's a great integrated healthcare system where we have the luxury of knowing who your PCP is, seeing your medications. We don't have to ask you, for clarification on things. We get access to your chart. So frankly, it paints a much better picture. Instead of starting at zero, we can kind of start halfway through. And you as a whole, top to bottom, we have a much better, communication system. So that's definitely a big perk to why I work there as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And again, this is Dr. Jessica Monroe. She's the doctor of optometry over at Essentia Health. And this is part of our Essentia Health Fit Farmer focus. Thanks for sponsoring that. And thanks for being here today.
Yeah, you bet.
Appreciate
Thanks for having me.
And stick around, folks. We're going to talk about just a forecast at the end here, and then maybe a couple headlines. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for sticking around. It's we're kind of rounding out the hour here. Bridgette, by the way, will be back tomorrow. I'm Justin from the Lakes Country, sitting in here with Dino. He's going to give us a wrap up on the forecast here in just a bit, but I wanted to kind of talk about a few headlines. One of them actually is weather related. We were talking about some of the hot weather earlier in the heat dome, and I saw this article about the cattle, and I was just going to find it here real quick. There was an issue in North Dakota, well, South Dakota, with the heat dome. And essentially, they were talking about the nighttime heat. So, the nighttime heat, as we all experienced in the last number of weeks, where it was hot, it was also really humid, and the dew point was cranked up. But more importantly, there was no airflow. And on the article that I was reading was it caused thousands of cattle deaths across the plains.
Bridgette talked about that yesterday.
Did she talk about this already?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, and it was just, basically it was a 2,000 head statewide. I mean, that's a whopper number.
Well, and Bridgette said, if you think about the whole, like how many hundred thousands of cattle, it's really, and she's like, not to downplay it, because that is big, but it's not as big as you'd think in terms of the whole head of cattle throughout the Dakotas. But still, I mean, any loss is a big loss, and to have what you say, a couple thousand, that is a huge loss. And,
well, especially
it's tough when you don't have wind, you're low on water. I mean, it is tough, and it's been a difficult summer for everybody in terms of heat.
So if you're a cattle farmer and you need to, and you've lost some cattle that way, I'm going to give you Dean's direct number so you can yell at him and send him a nasty text.
Hey, like I said, any loss is a big loss, but yeah, it's my fault for the hot weather. I wish we could change it, and in the short term, it's going to be at least the first 10 to 14 days here this month are going to be a little more tolerable in terms of the extreme heat.
Now, I'm gonna ask the ignorant question. I'm not sure either one of you know this.
There's no question that's ignorant.
But Bridgette would know this. Are those cattle salvageable at all? In other words, they die. Is there any sort of a couple day period, as long as you get them on ice, that they can? They are not going to be obviously fully established, but can you get anything out of that?
That's a good question.
So I don't know. And actually, come to think of it, there's one other thing I wanted to bring up, probably real quick before we get into the weather forecast, and that was talking to Bridgette about the upcoming harvest and people needing help, right? So you've probably heard in years past, there's been some farms that have advertised on here about needing drivers and such, but we'd like you to email into Bridgette at ag@flagfamily.com. or you can obviously call, but I mean, obviously the getting her email. And again, we'll talk about these on the air. We'll bring up your name and your farm, and that you need some help. But if you want more than that, then I would suggest doing again what I heard this farm last year, and just paying for a quick spot to have it mentioned a dozen times or whatever happens there. But essentially, I know everybody's in desperate need of labor, so I wanted to make sure I brought that up.
All right. And weather-wise, like I said, we're not dealing with the extreme heat for the start of August here. Not saying we're not going to see an occasional hot day, because we will, but all in all, we're looking at a much more tolerable start, even if it's above normal. Normal highs this time of the year are right around the 80-degree mark, so we're going to be above that. Not today, though. Today, about mid-70s. We've got a few fair weather cumulus clouds out there. We'll call it partly cloudy, and a little bit of a breeze out of the west-northwest at about 15 to 25. We'll clear it out tonight. A pleasant sleeping night again with lows around 50, and then tomorrow we'll warm it up a few degrees, low to mid-80s with the west wind at 10 to 20, and then kind of hot on Thursday. Humidity levels still not that bad, upper 80s though, with southwest winds 10 to 25, and then we'll moderate it back into the mid-80s for Friday, Saturday, Sunday with dry conditions, unfortunately. A slight chance for a few storms Sunday night, and then that's on a cold front that will bring in upper 70s to low 80s for most of next week, it looks like. But, yeah, of course. And Gary from Weather 2020 and the LRC, when he's on tomorrow, he'll explain that how this heat is going to rebuild as we head into the middle of the month. So we're going to be back into the hot and humid weather, and how this heat was predicted back in January. using the LRC, predicted a big heat wave for as we head into for the month of July, and then also into the middle and end of August. So, and again, have your fingers ready to dial if you have any questions for Gary tomorrow, as he'll be on at 1:30 talking about the LRC. So that'll do it for today's Weather and Ag in Focus. I want to thank everybody for being with us. Justin, thank you so much for filling in.
Yeah, thanks for
appreciate it. But don't go anywhere. The Jay Thomas Show, it's coming up next.